Okay guys, so I have a new ring to show you, and this is going to put a new spin on a beaded ring, literally, because there is a surprise about this ring. So here's the black one that I have on, and then here's one I've done in Christmas colors, in like some crystal and red. Now the really cool thing about this ring is that you can take the ring band and press the ring band together and actually slide this ring off. So you could have a generic band and then make multiple different colors of this, and then you would have a rechangeable ring that you could have for every day of the week if you wanted to. And this ring, although it looks kind of big, it's really not, because this is just a 10 by 8 millimeter crystal, so it's really not a big ring. Now I know there's some of you who are going, yeah right, yes, that's what you say, but yeah, this is small for what I normally like to wear. But as you can see, it literally spins and it moves, but the ring base and the ring hold it nice exactly where it needs to be for your piece. So the first thing I like to start with is the easiest to me, is this one right here. Now, if you're not careful, your piece your big bead will move off to the side like this one did. And this one was the first one that I did. I had a hard time really getting it the way I wanted it to. So I did a few things that would help me better on this one. This one is straight over your bead, so I'll kind of tell you about that. But if it gets woppy-jawed and it pulls off to the side like that, it's completely okay, because once you get it actually on the band, you will not be able to tell whatsoever that it's off kilter. So that's the great thing. So we're going to start out with the ring band, like I said, and you're going to need your size 8 seed beads for this. I've got a needle threaded with 2 yards of fire line, 1G, whatever you want to use. But you're going to start out by threading on 4 beads. And I'm going to let these beads drop down. And then I'm going to go back up through the first 2 beads again. So out of the 4, I'm only going back up through the first 2. Now I'm going to hold these 2 beads with my pointer finger and my thumb in my left hand, and I'm going to pull this on through. So your 2 beads should sit side by side. If they don't, you can make them sit that way. The next thing I'm going to do is take my needle and I'm going to go down through the second stack of beads. Put my fingers on them, and I'm going to pull that thread straight down the way it's coming out of the bead. Next up is I'm going to pick up 2 8s. And if this gets a little loose, it's okay, because you can pull the tail and the working thread and it'll go back for you. I'm going to do 2 8s. I'm going to come right back down through the last 2 beads that I have on my little stack here. I'm putting my finger on them to hold them in place. Pulling that thread, so now the 2 new beads sit right next to the 2 old beads. I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go right up through those 2 beads. Next up is I'm going to pick up 2 beads. I'm going to come right back up through the 2 beads that I just added. And then take my needle and I'm going to go down through 2 beads. So all I'm doing is ladder stitch. So it's just 2 beads, 2 size 8 seed beads. I'm going back down through the previous stack and then up through the new stack. And I'm just going to continue in this manner until I get the ring to the desired size that I need. Now with the sizing, you'll want the sizing to be kind of tight against your finger, because it will stretch just a little bit. So you'll want this to be tight, like I've got mine. There's no room here. It's just I can't really pinch in my stacks. You want it to be nice and tight so that it'll hold your bead into place. Once you have the desired length of your ring band, then you'll want to take and connect the 2 ends together. So for my piece, my thread is coming out of the bottom of my last stack, and I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come up through the first stack of beads that I added. This is the one that my tail thread is coming out of. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that thread, and as you can see, it pulled it together, but right now it's only connected there at the bottom. So at this point, I'm going to take the needle and I'll pull them apart here so that you can see it a little better. There we go. So now I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go down through the last stack of beads. So if I separate them, you'll be able to see that stack a little bit better. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go up through. Well, first what you can do is at this point you can tie these two threads together. This will be your working thread and the tail thread. And I would not cut this thread. I would go ahead and stitch through a few beads with my little tail thread here before you trim it off. So now I'm going to go up through that first stack of beads again. And at this point, you're ready to add your embellishments along the side. So to do this, I'm going to be using my 15s, and I'm going to pick up 3 15s. Right now, I'm coming out of the first stack of beads. I'm going to take my needle, and I'm going to come right back down through that same stack, but now I'm only going to go through the top bead. I'm not going to go through the whole stack. Okay, and that's going to make a little peacoat. Then I'm going to go up through the top bead of the next stack. Pick up 3 15s. Go down through the top bead of the same stack that you're coming out of. And then up through the top bead of the next stack. And you're going to do this around the ring. And we're going to be doing this on both sides. The only thing that you want to be aware of is we're going to leave one stack completely unembellished. So normally I'll go around this whole side until I get right back to this stack right here. And I'll do this stack and then leave this middle stack empty. Okay, so nothing on that stack of beads, which is the last little stack of beads that I added there. So I'm just going through and adding my embellishments, and you'll want to do this again on both sides. And what this does is this just helps us reinforce the ring band again, and it helps you to be able to put this ring on easier and take it off easier with these embellishments. So just go ahead and put embellishments on both sides, but remember to leave one stack completely unembellished. Once you've added the embellishments to each side, this is what your piece will look like. And as you can see, again, I've left one stack completely unembellished. And it's completely okay because your roundel is going to sit right on top of it and you're not going to see that. So I'm going to pick up my roundel, a 3mm bicone, and one size 15 seed bead. And I'm going to let those drop down to the base. I'm going to skip that little size 15 seed bead, and I'm going to go back down through the 3mm and the roundel. Now my thread is coming out to the right, so I'm going to take my needle and go through that stack of beads going from left to right and pull. And you'll want to make sure that you get it tight down to the base. Now it's going to want to pull to the side just like this. But you're going to have to work it and make it stay centered. I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to come back up through the roundel, the 3mm. Sometimes you can do this all in one get-go and sometimes not. Ha! There we go. And then through that 15. And then down through the 3mm, the 15, or sorry, the 3mm, the roundel, and then back through the other side. And you'll want to reinforce this several times. See, mine's exactly centered over those beads. So I'm going to go back up through and back down several times and then tie this thread off. That piece finished, this is what it's going to look like, okay? It's going to look just very plain and generic, but we're fixing to bling this baby up. So excited about this. Okay, now, here comes the part, then this is the reason why I left this for second, okay? This is the part where we're going to make the ring for it. Now, this one was one that I made and it just went smooth sailing and I loved it. This one was using Toho 15s. The black one that I have on here is using the Miyuki 15s. And I about said some really nasty, dirty words when I made this one with the Miyukis. I'm just not loving these when working on this specific pattern. So here's what's going to have to happen. If you're using Toho seed beads, you're going to thread your needle with a new piece of 2 yards of thread, and you're going to thread on 32 size 15 seed beads. If you're using Miyuki seed beads, you're going to have to put on 34 or 36 15s. I put 34 on this one, and it probably would have worked a little bit better if I did 36. So again, we're going to thread a needle with 2 yards of fire line, and if you're using Toho, you're going to put on 32 15s. And if you're using Miyuki, you're going to have to do 34 or 36 size 15 seed beads. I'm using Toho seed beads. So I have my 32 beads threaded on. Now, you have two options. You can either go back through all of these beads again and then tie it off, or you can just tie it off. I choose to go through the beads again. So all you do is just from the tail, go back up through all the beads one more time. And if you can't go through them all at once, I pull through a few and then go through the rest of them. Just like that. Pull my thread all the way. And then the biggest mistake I see people made is they go, well, this ain't making a circle. Why is it not making a circle? Well, it's not making a circle because you're pulling it apart. You have to put the threads together and pull so that it makes your little circle. And you can go ahead and you can tie this off. Don't tie it super tight, especially if you're using Miyuki seed beads. Because if you do, you're going to have a hot mess and you're not going to love it when you get done. It's going to be really hard to get those beads into place where you want it to be. So just go ahead and leave yourself just a little bit of room there that you can work with. And then just make sure you get a couple of good knots in there. Now, so that I don't have to deal with having my knot inside of the bead, I'm actually going to pull my tail thread to one side so that I can see where I'm at. Now, if you want to, you can go through the next bead right there next to the knot. But if you do that, you're going to have that knot inside of that 15 that you're going to have to contend with. So what I would suggest is just picking up a 15, skipping the 15 right there where your knot's at, and then going through the very next 15. This will put the bead exactly where it needs to be to get going. Now all you have to do is pick up another 15. You're coming out of a 15, you're going to skip a 15 and then go through the next 15. And you're going to go all the way around the ring, picking up one 15, skipping a 15, and then going through the next 15. And we're going to do that all the way around. So I've come all the way back around and I'm fixing to add the last 15. So I picked up a 15, I'm going to skip one, and I'm going to go through one, which is going to be this very last bead right here on my row. Now the great thing is I don't have to worry about that knot being right inside of that 15 because it's in between my beads. So I'm going to pull that and pop that into place. And now I'm going to step up by going through the first bead that I added in the row. Did I go too far? I think I went through 2 beads. Yes, I did. Let me back out of 1 bead here. Sorry guys, I went too far. Went through 2 beads instead of 1. Okay, so now I'm going to step up. And I'm going to step up by going through the first bead that I added in the row, which is going to be this one right here, this very next bead. Now I'm ready to do my Delica beads. So I'm going to pick up one size 11 Delica, and I'm going to go through the next 15 sticking up. And it's going to pop right into place. And then I'm going to pick up an 11 Delica, and I'm going to go through the next 15 sticking up. And I'm going to do this all the way around. Now, here's one thing that you need to know. If you use my Yuki seed beads, when you get all the way around, what's going to happen is these little Delicas are going to be whoppy jawed all the way around. But when you're using Tohos, they're going to lay in place exactly like they should. So just be aware of that. You know, when you're doing the Mayuki, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just these are going to be whoppy on each side so you get them connected. I've now gone all the way around, adding my size 11 Delicas, and I'm fixing to add the last one for the row. So what I'm going to do is pick up my Delica, and the last bead for my row is going to be this last 15, okay? A lot of people, if they miss their step up, they go right up through the next Delica, and that's not what you're doing. You have to finish the row, so you have to go through the little 15 right here and pull that through so that finishes out that row of Delicas. Now, I'm going to go through the next 2 15s at a diagonal. So I'm just going to go this way, and that gets me coming out of what we call an up 15 on this side. It's just one of our taller 15s. And at this point, I'm just going to flip it around on my little ink pen here so I can see a little bit better. So now I'm just going to do another row of the Delicas. So I'm going to pick up a Delica, and I'm going to go through the next 15 sticking up. And I'm going to do this all the way around, just picking up a Delica and going through the next 15 sticking up. And you're going to do this all the way around on this side. So I've gone around the whole piece, and I'm ready to add the last Delica for the row. So I've got my Delica, and I'm going to go through the last 15 for the row. Don't go through the Delica. You're going through the 15 because that's the last bead, again, on the row. Then we're going to step up by going through the first Delica that we added, which is going to be the very next Delica. Now, we're going to work another round on this side, and this round is just going to be one Delica, and we're going to go through the next Delica that's sticking up. And we're going to do one full round on this side, and then once you finish on this side, you'll want to stitch to the other side and do a round of Delicas on this side. So you'll have 2 rows of Delicas and 2 rows of Delicas. Once you finish the ring and you have 2 rows of Delicas on each side, this is what your piece will look like. Now we've got one last row that we need to add, and if you want to use Delicas, you can. But I don't suggest it. I suggest using regular size 11 seed beads for 2 reasons. Number 1, it makes it easier to zip up. Number 2, it makes it easier to see where you're going to add your embellishments as you work. So you're basically just going to pick up one regular 11 seed bead, and you're going to go through the next Delica bead all the way around on this side. When you get back around, you want to be sure and step up at the end of the row by going through the first regular size 11 seed bead that you add in. I've gone all the way around, adding my 11s, and now I'm ready to zip the piece up. So all that means is you're going to take and you're going to squeeze it together. And right now my thread is coming out in a regular 11. I'm going to come to this left side, and I'm going to go through the next Delica that's sticking up. So essentially it's the Delica on the other side between your 11s. You'll want to pull. And then I'm going to come over here to the right side to the regular 11, and I'm going to go through that bead. And make sure you don't get your thread caught like I did. But you're going to pull that. Then go through the Delica on the left. Then the 11 on the right. And you're just going to continue zipping up the piece, pulling it tightly until you have the whole piece connected. Now if you want to, you can go through the 11 Delica on one side and then the regular 11 on the other side. That is, if you have practice at this and you know what you're doing. If you don't, I definitely suggest only going through one side at a time, but it's completely up to you. But just continue to zip it up, and then when you come back around, come through the first regular size 11 seed bead. So I've got my ring finished, as you can see, and I'm ready to start adding the embellishments. So I'm coming out of the 4mm, oh my gosh, coming out of the size 11 seed bead. Holy moly, 4mm, wow. Okay, so size 11 seed beads are going to get 4mm bicones. Size 11 Delicas are going to get 3s. So I'm going to start out and I'm going to pick up a 4mm and 3 15s. I'm going to let these drop all the way down. Skip the 3 15s so I can just pull those out of the way. And I'm going to go back down through the 4mm. Now my working thread is coming out of the left side of that size 11 seed beads. I'm just going to take my needle and I'm going to go back through that bead going from right to left and then pull. And so what's going to happen is it's going to make those 3 15s make a little peacoat over your bead, and then your bead will sit atop your regular size 11 seed bead. I'm going to go through the very next size 11 Delica. Okay, and if I hold it like that, it's going to be the one to the left. And now remember, I told you Delica's got 3mm. So I'm going to pick up a 3mm and 3 15s. Let those drop. I'm going to skip the 15s. And the great part about this now is that you're always going to be going in the same direction. So my thread's coming out to the left. So I'm going to go back through that Delica going from right to left and pull through. Then I'm going to come through the next size 11 seed bead. And this is where we'll get the 4mm. So you'll pick up the 4mm and 3 15s and let those drop. Skip the 15s, go down through the 4 and then back through the regular size 11 seed bead. And if you want to at the same time, you can go ahead and go through that next Delica too. So you can go ahead and be in line for the next bead that you need to add. So now I'm coming out of the size 11 Delica. So this is where I'm going to add my 3mm and 3 15s. Now, if you don't like necessarily to do this method, where I'm adding the 4s and the 3s at the same time, then you always have the option, and I actually think I wrote the pattern the way I'm fixing to describe. You have the option of going ahead and adding all the 4mm. Oh, poo, I have something on there I'm going to have to fix. But you always have the option of adding all your 4mm first to the regular 11s, and then coming back and adding the 3mm to the 11 Delicas. But you're going to go around either way and add your embellishments all the way around. So once you've gone all the way around, adding your 3s and your 4s, this is what your little circular component will look like. And that means you're done with the ring. So all you have to do is fold the piece in half, and you just stick it straight through the opening you've got there. And then once you put it on, you have a brand new ring to wear. So it's totally, you know, you get a totally different look with each ring that you make, and it's just a lot of fun to do. So we do have kits available on our website for the black one and this Christmas colored one, as well as the written pattern, which can be found on our website at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. Thanks for watching and have a great week.